Okay, today what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I'm going to do a little collection tour of all of my Overstreet comic book price guides. I have 40 different ones. Now, a few of them I have two different covers, but I have 40 actual price guides so far. I'd like to one day have them all. I've been collecting these kind of semi-seriously since 2002. I've been trying to buy them as they come out since 2002, but I've missed a few different years. There's some gaps in there. And I've since went back and tried to get the ones before that. They started in like 1971, so there's a lot of them. But 50 years, 51 years of price guides. So I've got the majority of them. But anyway, so I'll pick these up secondhand. I'm not paying collector's price for them. That's crazy. I mean, if you look in the actual, it's ironic. If you look at the Overstreet price guide, if you look these books up at the back, they have them listed, and boy, do they think they're worth a lot. Yeah, and the prices they have listed for the guides are just completely bonkers. Never seen them anywhere for sale at that price, except at the publisher's website, Gemstone Publishing. You can buy those back issues of the guide from them, and they'll try to get you to pay $100, $165 for these books that, if you find them in the wild, the flea market, or a used book shop, or even a comic shop that has old ratty copies they're selling, not necessarily ratty, but older copies, it won't be anywhere near, that kind of money. In fact, I don't want to pay cover. I'd like to pay, if I'm getting a soft cover of an older volume, I don't want to pay much more than $10, or I feel like, I've paid a little more a couple times, but not often. For the old ones, I mean, the old soft covers. I mean, they've had hard covers all along, but they're a little harder to come by because it seems like most shops always bought a soft cover. Yeah. But anyway, I have pretty fond memories of the guide, growing up. And the first cover I remember seeing was, I think it was number 11, and we'll get to it when we go through them all. But anyway, I was about 13, I think, then. And me and a few of my buddies collected comic books, and there was one local comic shop we all went to. I mean, there's only one there, the only choice we had. And none of us felt like we could afford a guide. So when we were wondering what one of our books was worth, that's all very up in the air, What is something worth? What you can get at it, that's what it's worth. But anyway, we would call this shop and ask them as if we were inquiring to buy that issue. And we'd say, well, how much is ROM number 10? And they'd just go look it up in the price guide, because that's what they went by. And they'd tell us, and then we'd hang up, and a few minutes later, we'd say, well, what about, I've got Godzilla number 2. What's that worth? I'm like, I don't know. You call them. I called them last time, and then they'd call the same number, the same guy pickup. And after a while, he was on to us. He knew we were using him as a price guide. And he was like, fellas, we sell price guides. I don't know why it was embarrassing, because they didn't know who it was. The caller ID wasn't very common way back then, but so it was still embarrassing though. And I never did that again after that guy said, well, we sell price guides. I'm like, we know you sell price guides, but we could buy a lot of comic books for the cost of one of these guides. We didn't say that, but that's what we were all thinking. So, anyway, but yeah, that's now. So all the guides have been about the same size for a very long time. But then I think it was around 2001, they got a lot bigger. And I don't mean page count. The page count has been progressively getting bigger and bigger because more books get published. They have to get larger. There's no way around that. But I mean, they tried to keep it down. What they do is they just kept shrinking the font size. They kept making that typeset smaller and smaller and smaller until it got to a certain point. I guess too many people complained and like, well, we got to make the guide larger. So they did. Not only did they increase the page count, but they made it taller. And I'll show some B-roll here showing the difference in the sizes. And that change happened somewhere around 2001. And then they've all been that same trim size ever since. Just almost identical since 2001. Anyway, so enough of that. We're going to start going through all these covers one by one. I've got high-res stamps going to put over there. You know how I do. And I'll just do a couple of remarks on each one as we go through them all together. Okay, so the first price guide. Now that one is worth a great deal if you actually have an original Overstreet price guide number 1. But I think in, 2021, last year, they did a reprint edition. They call it the facsimile edition. And they offered it in softcover and hardcover. I have the hardcover. It's pretty nice. And it just does a reprinting of the original guide. And you can see here, it was pretty basic. There was no cover art, just had some logos and whatnot. But yeah. Now the next one I have is number 6. Number 6 was in 1976. I got the soft cover of this one. I picked it up, secondhand for probably 10 or 12 bucks. And this one has a cover by Will Eisner, Spirit of 76. It's pretty cool. The next one I have is number 7 from 1977. It's another soft cover. And the cover here is by Carl Barks. Pretty nice. And I don't have 8, but I have number 9, 1979. Gorgeous cover by Wally Wood. Just great. Then I have number 10. That was in 1980, and that's a cover by Alex Schomburg. Now, number 11 was in 1981. I was 13 years old, and this was the first guide cover I ever remember seeing sitting at the shelf on the comic shop, and the guy behind the counter would always grab it when we went to buy back issues. And so yeah, I remember this cover really well because it just sat there with, on the shelf. And we couldn't reach it, but we could see it. We all thought it was the coolest thing. But the cover art here is by L.B. Cole. And number 12 was in 1982. And this one has Mad Magazine's Alfred E. Newman on the cover, and the art is by Norman Mingo. Number 13 from 1983 is Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, covered by Don Newton. It's kind of neat. Number 14 was in 1984, and unfortunately this is the K.D. Keene cover by Bill Wogan, W-O-G-O-N. Don't know how you pronounce that. Number 15 in 1985, it was Captain Marvel, the Shazam Captain Marvel cover by C.C. Beck. Not one of my favorite properties, but okay, yeah. Number 16 in 1986. Now, I managed to acquire a hardcover of this one. The cover's by John Romita Sr. Pretty good stuff. Now, number 17 in 1987, I got another hardcover here, and this one features a beautiful classic Disney character cover by Ron Diaz. This is probably my wife's favorite of all my price guide covers, I imagine. She likes that stuff. I don't have 18 yet. I have 19, and that was in 1989, and this cover has Batman and Robin fighting the Joker. The art here is by Jerry Robinson. So the next one I have is number 22 from 1992. This is Spider-Man and the Green Goblin cover by Mark Bagley and John Romita Sr. So that's a pretty cool pairing. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I mean, he's worked with Jr. a lot, but here it is with his dad. So that Mark Bagley with John Romita Jr.'s dad. That's pretty cool. Now, I'm missing a bunch there in the early 90s, and then I have number 25, 1995. This is Yellow Kid and the X-Men by John Romita Jr. Next one I got is number 27 from 1997, and this is covered by Alex Ross. Then I got 28 from 1998, and that cover's by Murphy Anderson. I have number 30 from 2000, fantastic cover art by Al Williams. I just love this. And I have 31 from 2001, and this is a Kirby Fantastic Four homage by John K. Snyder III. And number 32 in 2002 is an Archie cover by Rex W. Lindsay. I think this was the year I started buying the guide annually as they came out. And I didn't miss too many in there, but there's a few gaps you'll see. Number 33 is 2003. This is another Kirby homage cover by John K. Snyder. This time he's doing the classic X-Men. Number 34, 2004. I have two editions of this one. The first one is a soft cover with yet another homage Kirby cover by John K. Snyder III. This time it's a Hulk. And then I also found a deal on a hardcover of this edition, and this one is by Don Yepes, and it's a Donald Duck cover. Number 35 was in 2005, and it has a beautiful George Perez cover of the Teen Titans. It's pretty good stuff. Number 36 from 2006 is a Jim Lee Batman cover. Pretty nice. And in 2007, we got number 37 is another John K. Snyder III cover. This one he's doing an homage of the Bill Everett Daredevil. And then for some reason, not sure why, I missed the next 2 years. And then I have number 40 from 2010. So this one is when, I think around this era, 2010, is when I started mostly buying the hardcover Hero Initiative editions of the guide. And this is one of my favorites of all time. This is where John Romita Jr. recreates Barry Windsor Smith's classic Conan cover from Conan #1. And I'll show the original and the homage together here. Nice, huh? Yeah, number 41 the next year, 2011, for whatever reason, I still don't have the Hero Edition for that year. I need to get it. But what I do have is the awesome Walt Simonson Thor cover. Pretty sweet. 42, 2012, I have a hardcover for this one, and it's a Catwoman cover by Adam Hughes. If you look closely, you can see Batman with a flashlight in the background. It's pretty neat. It's a nice cover. The next year was 2013, number 43. I have the soft cover for this one, and this is an X-Men cover by Mike Deodato Jr. Pretty good. I think they went a little bit overboard with Wolverine's height here. You know, usually my beef is they make Wolverine too tall. Well, here I feel like they made him a little too short. I mean, I don't know, maybe he's supposed to be in the foreground here, and Jean and Scott are behind him enough that you get that illusion. But to me, Wolverine should not be a full head shorter than Jean. That's just, it's a little much. But other than that, I love the cover. Now, for some reason, I'm missing 44, but the next one I have is number 45 in 2015. And I've got the Hero Initiative hardcover. And this is the Spirit cover by Dave Johnson. Really good. Number 46 from 2016, I've got the Hero Initiative Superman cover by Dan Jurgens. And you guys know I'm not a Superman fan, but that's a pretty nice looking cover. 47, the next year, 2017, I have two different hardcovers for this one, so I double dipped that year. And I have the ROM cover by Gabriel Rodriguez. And I'm a big ROM fan, so, you know, I had to get it. And I have the Hero Initiative Deadpool cover by Rob Liefeld. Now, I'm not a fan of Liefeld. I'm not a fan of his art at all. But I have to admit, he did a pretty good job here. Hell, he even managed to draw not 1 but 2 feet. And that's not something he does very often, I understand. Number 48, 2018. This is one of my favorite guide covers ever. This is the Hero Initiative Edition Thanos cover, beautifully painted by Joe Jusko. Just love it. I mean, this is one of my favorites of all time, for sure. The next year, number 49, 2019, it's another great hero hardcover, and this time it's The Avengers by Alan Davis. Good stuff. Now, year after that, number 50, 2020, I double dipped again. I have two different hardcovers for 2020. I have the Hero Initiative cover, which is by Todd McFarlane, and it's Spawn and Spider-Man together. And that's pretty sweet. And then I also have the Kevin Nolan Defenders cover. Got that in hardcover too. I rather like it as well. I'm a big Defenders guy. I've got all of the original singles of the original run. Got the whole thing. So, had to get it. Couldn't help it. Number 51, 2021, I've got the Hero cover. And this is Dawn by Joseph Linsner, I believe is how you say that. 52 for this year, just got this in not too long ago, and this is the Hero Initiative cover by Mike Grell, and this is Batman and Green Arrow. Pretty good stuff. I also want to show a related item I have in this collection. It's in 2020, Gemstone, the people that published the guide, they put out a pretty nice hardcover called Overstreet at 50, 5 Decades of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. And I had to get it. It's a little history of the guide. There's a big, long interview throughout it with Robert M. Overstreet, the author of the guide, the guy that's been leading it since day one. And it has commentaries and photos with a lot of people that helped make the guide possible, and lots of things that happened throughout the years, some stuff from cons and whatnot. This one has a nice Hulk cover painted by Jeff Jusko again. And man, it's pretty sweet. I like it a lot. But, you know, I don't speculate on books. I don't buy comics to sell at a profit. Not that I haven't ever made a profit off a comic book. I certainly have. But I didn't go in intending to do that. I've never... I find the whole practice kind of icky, you know, speculation. Don't like it at all. So you might think it odd that I buy the price guides, but it's not. I look at it as a history tool, as a reference, and as I look back at the way things were. I mean, you can look through. I'll show a little B-roll here. You can look through and there's ads throughout the guide. There's a lot of ads. I guess this thing would be really expensive if it wasn't, you know, 30% ads. Yeah, but especially in the older volumes, if you look. Some of the ads, most of them, in fact, were hand-drawn, you can tell. And they didn't worry about copyright too much back then. I mean, it was a different age, I guess, but a lot of that stuff is hand-drawn, and they're definitely copyrighted characters. And I cannot imagine that they got all those copyright holders to say, yeah, put it in the ad. We won't charge you. Right. But it's an interesting look at past years and how things were, and it's pretty cool. There's also articles in these. There's little overviews, market reports, and they do that every year. Sometimes they'll feature a certain artist, maybe that's passed away, or something like that, or a theme, things that had happened, significantly in those years and whatnot. There's lots of good articles in every volume of the Overstreet Guide. And so, if you're a student of comic books and a student of comic book history, it's something you should take a look at for sure. And they're fun. So that's all I got today. And I'll probably update this periodically as I get a lot more guides in. It'll be years apart because you've seen the bulk of it. I have most of them. So I'm not missing too many. But hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a like. And if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. Bell notify yourself so you don't miss out on stuff I post throughout the week. I have unscheduled things, hauls and unboxings, that sort of thing. I do have a Patreon if you want to help me keep this thing going and you have the means to do it. There's no levels or anything. You can donate whatever you want. That's down in the doobly-doo. So I'll see you.